Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Be Like Christ for our Bible study through Leviticus chapter 12. This is a really short chapter. I think the shortest chapter that we've had so far in the Bible. It's only 8 verses, so this shouldn't take too long. There's a free PDF. There's a link down in the description to our website. You can check that out and print it off if you want to. When did the events of Leviticus chapter 12 take place? Well, same time as the rest of the book of Leviticus, basically. We're in the year 1490 BC, roughly. The Israelites have left Egypt and they are on their way to the promised land known as Canaan. So this is about 1500 years before Jesus was born. In our definitions section, we have a term that we've already been introduced to and read about, the turtle dove. The turtle dove is a small species of dove that evidently gets its name from the sound of its call. Apparently it sounds like a turtle. They average around 140 grams, and they're smaller than the mourning dove or the common pigeon, which you see a lot, at least in the United States. I was just in Athens, Greece, and the pigeons there are super fat. So now we come to our outline section. We've got 3 sections, but they're very, very short sections. The first 4 verses talk about the days of purification for a woman who bore a son. This chapter is all about what a woman needed to do after she gave birth to go from being ceremonially unclean to being clean. If a woman bore a male child, she was considered unclean for 7 days. On the 8th day, she was supposed to take her son to be circumcised. She was then to complete 33 more days of, quote, purifying before she was allowed to touch anything holy or come to the sanctuary, the tabernacle. What if she bore a female child? Well, verse 5 will tell us the days of purification for a woman who bore a daughter. So if she had a daughter, she was unclean for 14 days. And following those 14 days, she was then to complete 66 days of purification, so twice as long as for a male child. So those are the days of purification, and because there's only 2 genders, there's only need for 2 sections. Whether the child was a boy or a girl, this last section was relevant to both. Verses 6 through 8. Sacrifices that needed to be offered after the days of purification. So when the days of purification were complete, the woman was to bring a year-old lamb to the tabernacle for a burnt offering and a pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering. The sacrifice would act as an atonement for her, and the purification process would be complete when the sacrifices were finished. If the woman came from a poor family, she was allowed to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons and to replace the lamb with a bird. And now finally for our application. This chapter is relevant to the events surrounding Jesus' birth that happened 1500 years later. Luke chapter 2 verses 22 through 24 appears to suggest that after giving birth to Jesus, Mary, Jesus' mother, went to Jerusalem to offer 2 birds as a sacrifice for her purification, which tells us what? It tells us Jesus didn't come from a wealthy family. Isn't it amazing that God came to the earth and he chose a place among the poor? There's a quote from F.B. Meyer that I really like, and I want to read it to you as we finish. What a glimpse into our Master's humiliation. He owned the cattle on 1,000 hills, yet he so emptied himself that his parents were compelled to bring the poorest offering the law allowed. He stooped that we might rise, emptied himself that we might be full, became poor that we might be made rich.